Welcome to Larry's Library, and welcome to the Sunday Scan. This is the series where every week, every Sunday, I'm going to take a look at a single issue comic book that I've read. I try to read one a week. I don't collect single issues per se anymore as I switch to hardcovers, but I do have about a long box left to finish reading in single format, stuff that hasn't been collected in a good enough edition or sometimes at all for me to buy as a hardcover. And this is one such example. This week I read Godzilla number 13. Now, this is Marvel's Godzilla, back when they held that license. And I love this series. There's 24 issues. I'm a little over halfway through now, having read 13. And this cover, I love. This is obviously a Herb Trimpe cover, the penciler. I do not know who the inker is. Now, a lot of the inkers and pencilers I'm super familiar with, I can tell by looking. And looking at this, my best guess is this is Herb Trimpe pencils and maybe inks by Terry Austin. Now that is a wild-ass guess, but it has that sharpness and that fine line that Terry Austin typically has, and I love. He's one of my favorite inkers of all time. If you haven't seen my top 10 favorite inker videos, check that out. I will put a link to that up in the corner. So, I don't know. If anyone out there knows who the inker is of this cover, please let me know in the comments, because I'd love to know. My comic book databases, the two I deal with, neither one of them has that information. And I've looked elsewhere. I've looked at a few wikis online, and nobody seems to have that info. So, if you know, let me know, because Comic Base doesn't have it, and neither does Comic Collector CLZ. But if I find out, I will add it to both of those databases. Anyway, the cover here is Mayhem is the Mega Monster, and like I said, I love this cover. This is a beautiful, beautiful cover. And as I mentioned last week when I read issue 12, these are not 10 out of 10s for me, because I'm not a huge fan of the inking by Fred Kida, I'm not sure how you say it. It's K-I-D-A, over Herb Trimpe. I love Herb Trimpe pencils, but I'd much rather him have a better inker, a tighter inker, like Terry Austin, who perhaps did this cover. Maybe. But at any rate, this was a lot of fun, just like the last issue. The opening page here says, The Mega Monsters from Beyond, Part 2 Triax. And this Triax creature is really goofy looking. I can't even imagine a little kid being scared by that. I mean, with the eyeballs. I mean, it's a cool design in that it's crazy and silly, but it's certainly not horrifying. But it is fun. And in this issue, like the last several, it features this character that I love called Red Ronin. And a Red Ronin is a giant robot that is piloted by a human. Much like the Shogun Warriors, another property that Marvel licensed right around the same time. And anyway, the Ronin robot here is purely a Marvel creation, and it's piloted by this little boy named Rob Tagaguchi, I believe. Maybe Tamaguchi. Let me check that. Rob Takaguchi is his name. Anyway, yeah, it's just a lot of fun. Like I said in the last one, Godzilla gets embroiled in this intergalactic war where these two separate alien races, they throw giant monsters at each other to battle, which is bizarre and kind of a silly plot, but it's a lot of fun. And Rob piloting Red Ronin has a lot of fun too, and you as the reader are pulled right along with him. He's got this laser sword that can shoot out of his shield. I'll show some scans of that. And you know, as much as I love the Shogun Warriors, I think the Red Ronin design for a giant pilotable robot is even better than the Shogun Warriors, in my opinion. It's awesome. It's a samurai, obviously, modeled after a samurai. But it has a small buckler-style shield here, and then, like I said, the laser sword can shoot out of that when he needs it. It's cool. It's silly and cool, but I loved every minute of it. It's like a lot of Godzilla movies. There ends up being multiple giant monsters, and Godzilla ends up being the hero, even though he's sort of the villain because he's destroying stuff all the time. But he's less of a villain than the other monsters. You know, it's the typical kind of trope that plays out in the Godzilla films, and it's no different here. But the difference here is it's set in the Marvel Universe, so you've got Dum Dum Dugan chasing after him with S.H.I.E.L.D. and being largely ineffectual at doing anything besides getting his ship, getting the helicarrier wrecked multiple times, costing billions of dollars probably, but it's pretty wild. And I'll show a few scans of these pages. And I had a good time with it. It's a lot of fun. It's silly, but it's good stuff. If you're into late 70s Marvel, you're going to love this. It's just more of that same craziness. And I give it 8 stars like I did the last one. But I hope you like this quick look at that. And if you want to see more, come back every Sunday for another edition of Sunday Scan, where I will show a few scans from a single issue comic book. And if you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe and bell notify yourself. Hit the little bell icon there, so you'll be sure to get notified when I post more of this crazy stuff. So I'll see you next time.